Hey guys, welcome to episode 6 of How Would Jesus Sell series. In the next 6 to 8 minutes, I'm gonna break down something that Jesus did better than any human, better than you, better than me. But it's important because let's shine light on what he did and what he did so well. Even though he knew he was right, he still took this approach. And if you learn, if you really contemplate what he did and why he did it, this can transform your sales. And I want to start off with a story because this just happened to me. Something that I'm glad it did because it was an example of what sales gone wrong looks like. So my upstairs air conditioning unit went out. My girls sleep up there. Their rooms are up there. So it is hot up there. And it hasn't even gotten super, super hot right now in the climate that we're in and where we live. But we got it checked out. And this guy came over. Usually my wife handles all this, but she was gone for the afternoon. And so I said, I'll handle this AC guy. So he comes over. His name is Andrew. And knocks on the door and immediately proceeds to tell me that my unit, which is a Lennox unit, which I'm the second buyer of this house, so I didn't have it. The people that owned it prior to us, they had it built. So I wasn't involved with which unit to put and which units to put in my house as it relates to the AC and furnace. So he proceeds to tell me how bad Lennox is. And he said there's class action lawsuit. They are notorious for this, this, and this. They're horrible. And literally said those words like they are very bad, they're very horrible. So mind you, he comes into my house that I have these units in, and the first thing is to understand the perspective of your prospect or of your client or your consumer. What's their mentality? So right out of the gates, I was a little taken back, but I didn't think anything of it at the moment. I'm like, all right, he's like, where's the attic? And we got him up there, and I said, I'm kind of just hoping it's maybe some low refrigerant. It's not cooling. It does a little cooling, but just not to the degree that we're used to. And he said, well, I'll check it out. He goes, that would be a bad situation if it was, refrigerant. And I was thinking to myself, maybe you just fill it up. But he was thinking it was leaking. And so lo and behold, I go downstairs. He does his thing. He comes down about 7 minutes later. And he proceeds to tell me, this is the situation. You have a horrible unit. It's Lennox. There you have no Freon, there's no refrigerant in there, it's down to zero, so the hole's either huge or this is leaked out, you've got a major problem on your hands. And here's what I felt. So he gives me some options, but his options were very lenient towards, you're gonna need to put a new $12,000 unit in your house so that this can be cool, then your girls can have a cool air. And I look back, and I'm not one to usually write bad reviews. And I didn't write a bad review. I don't think that that's necessary because this company doesn't, Andrew doesn't represent everything this company exists. But I did write into them saying, as a business owner, I think it would be important for you to know that Andrew just came in guns a-blazing. Andrew came in not, even if he was right, which he may well be, he had zero empathy. He had zero ability to put himself in my shoes. Even if you come around and say, hey, listen, I hate to kind of be the bearer of bad news. He didn't do any of this. I hate to be the first one to tell you this. I hate to really I don't know for sure, but from my experience, this is what we're seeing now. There's some options and we're going to take care of you. Like, we got you. He didn't do any of that. He's like, this is what you have. It's almost like he come in, he see the neighborhood we live in, and I think he thought, well, I'm going to sell this, poor sap a $12,000 unit. He didn't know what's coming to him. And so my point is this, in sales, it's crazy that this just happened to me, I know. In sales, one of the things that's important to know, there's a guy named Alex Hormozy, great entrepreneur, good salesperson, and he speaks about this so well. He says, people don't buy because they understand everything. They buy because they feel understood. And there was nobody that did this better than Jesus, right? He understood. He sought to understand. In a day and age where it's about sales is just pushy and forceful and slick talking, that's not how you sell. You sell with empathy, making somebody feel understood, getting yourself in their shoes. And that's the point of this message. This episode number 6 is you need to get better with your empathy. Put yourself in other people's shoes. I would say I had a little bit of, I've gotten good at this, but I think that I had some hard wiring in me as a middle child of 8 kids that I was always looking at and paying attention to people and how they respond. I was never one to be a dictator or do this because I said so. I was always trying to understand. So I think I gained that quality from my upbringing. And some people, it's not natural. I want to point out, there's a guy named Chris Voss, and he wrote a book called Never Split the Difference. Very good book. and he was a hostage negotiator with the FBI. And he said this, and he said there's a fine line between tension and assertiveness, empathy and assertiveness. And it's that tension that great communicators understand, and they know how to build bonds. He said, you can't just understand their perspective. So he's talking about you and the prospect. You must be able to articulate it. And he's doing this in a hostage negotiation. He says, and you must be able to say it out loud with an emphasis on their negative thoughts. So if you can interact with a person, this is so huge. If you get this, my mission is accomplished. If you can walk into any environment and you can get somebody to understand, not only you get them, you understand where they're coming from, you understand the shoes they're sitting in, but you also specifically understand their negative thoughts around what could happen or what needs to happen or their current predicament. If you can articulate that, you will build a bond that is literally unbreakable. He says if you can explain or have an emphasis on their negative thoughts and be able to say it to them, you can articulate it without using a but, meaning you're trying to resist them. You will break down barriers, connect dots, and drive up oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone, greater and stronger than anything on earth. It's a darn near unbreakable bond that happens immediately when somebody feels heard. But it's not just listening. It's being able to articulate exactly what they think, and particularly their negative thoughts and emotions around that perspective, what you're selling. And he says, here's the other kicker, you don't have to agree with them. You don't have to agree with them. You just have to understand their perspective and accept it. We see this very clearly when Jesus spoke to the woman at the well. He didn't go up there to try to condemn her just like everybody else in her life had, and rightfully she was already feeling the shame and the guilt, and he could have done that. But Jesus being Jesus, he knew how to communicate so that he could build a bond, a level of trust, and then ultimately he wasn't there to shame her, he was there to forgive her. He was there for her to walk away and say, you know what, I can move on with a new life, and a new life in Christ, a new life in Jesus, and more importantly, a new life in accepting my sin and then being able to know I can move beyond it. And so I'm just telling you this from a sales perspective. Jesus, he created the brain. So he ultimately was the best communicator, because if you created the brain, you know how to communicate it to it best to get people to respond, to be inspired, to pay you, right? From skeptics to believers. And so Jesus did that with empathy. And then he went on to tell her a story of thirst and how water quenches that thirst just like I've quenched your need to be forgiven. And go away, sin no more. Your sins are forgiven. He understood her. He built a bond with her. She felt understood by him and therefore trusted him enough to say, I can have new life. And so when it comes to sales, where does this apply? If you first try to get in their shoes, right, you display empathy. It's not about you being right. It's about you being trusted. And if they feel that you connect and you understand their plight, what they've been through, what they've tried, their struggles, their challenges, their fears, their frustrations, and then you proceed to explain the solution or the offer that you have that solves or potentially solves that problem, now you get them to trust you. And when they trust you, they increase oxytocin, which is a hormone in the bloodstream that is engaged with trust and a bond. And so I want to leave you with this very practical thing. So for me, one of the things I teach our clients in our Ignite program, which if you want more details on that or how we can help you or install this into your business, if you're not a salesperson at heart, or if you're not somebody who just comes natural to sell or to talk about money, we want to help you, because that was me. And so we created this Ignite program for introverts and people who don't love sales and who don't love asking for money, who just don't feel like they're a salesy type. I'm telling you, you have a unique gift if that's you, and we want to help you be able to display that and get the fruits of your labor and be able to help more people, impact more people, make more money. But doing it the way Jesus, in a moral, ethical way. And so I'm going to leave you with this, and that is when you just simply use transition statements like, I can understand where you're coming from. Or, if I was in your shoes, I can understand how you're feeling, and this is how I would think about it. Or, you're not alone by thinking this way. Like if this AC guy, Andrew, if all he said was, listen, I know you're probably just hearing about this and it wasn't the news you wanted to hear here on a Thursday afternoon, but I want to lay out all your options, and I want to tell you, we're going to help you through this. The bottom line is we want you to get a result and we want you to feel good about it. So here's what the problem is. Here's what you can do. Here's what it's going to cost you. Here's what a timeline. Like, he didn't do any of that. I had to literally stop him. I kid you not. Like, I stopped him, like, Andrew, like, I'm kind of in this game of communication and sales. I said, dude, I just heard about this 8 minutes ago, as you just told me. I'm trying to process things. You're trying to sell me a $12,000 unit, dude. I got to think through what is even going on here. What is going to be my approach? And so it wasn't that he wasn't right. It's that he wasn't putting himself in my shoes and utilizing a very easy strategy that just said, hey man, I'm here to give you options, and I'm here to get this thing fixed for you, and more importantly, make you feel good about your decisions. That's it. That's what people want to know. So sales is easier than you think when you just apply some what I like to just call human instincts, and nobody did it better than Jesus. He was more than human. He was God himself, and so I just would, continue to recommend. He's the King of Kings, but he also is a very good communicator and salesperson. So let's look no further than to Jesus for the answers when it comes to communication in your relationships, your business, your money, your finances, your ability to challenge people in all the right ways, and most importantly, to be influential with your words. So that's episode 6. Pray for me and my AC unit and how we're going to go about that. But it's the bar's lower than you think, and when you know these strategies, you can go a long way. It's not about what you know; it's about who you know, whose you are. But it is also about emotional intelligence, not IQ. It's about EQ. That's just going to take you next level. Nobody had that bigger, better, stronger than Jesus himself. So more for me. That's episode 6.